All right, this is very exciting. We're being joined by one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling today. He is going to headline WrestleMania in just about a month and a half time from now in Inglewood SoFi Stadium. Later on today, he's going to be at Monday Night Raw at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. He's the American Nightmare. He's the one and only Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
Hello, Cody.
How are you?
The inimitable, the incomparable.
Wow. A lot of, what do we call those? Superlatives.
Platitudes.
Platitudes is another one. I heard that the other day. That's the biggest one being going to WrestleMania.
Yes.
That's just still wild to hear. Need to not. It still gets me.
Wake up from the dream. Not
right?
A nightmare, the dream.
Yeah, just I've been telling people I've been coming out on TV, always smiling and like really calm. That's a very real me right now. Just because I just want to get there. You just want to get there, and I feel like I said this the first night after WrestleMania. I said, I'm ready. I don't know. I really feel like that. I mean, no, not in a braggart sense. I really feel like I'm ready. Just whatever it is, throw it at me. And Barclays is a great one, you know. Just let's just get there and have a great time and entertain the hell out of people on the way. But gosh, WrestleMania season, there's nothing like it. It's the best.
You're such a pro. You dive right in. I was going to talk about a couple things.
Sorry, I'm also an oversharer.
No, I love that about you. Last time I spoke to you was at the Alamo Dome, and afterwards I thanked you via DM, and you said, next time let's not do an interview, behind the curtains next to the pipes. So this is my house. This, here I get treated with a little respect. Look at this. It's nice, right?
I feel like I need to know what happened, though, because
I'm just an outsider.
You're not, though. And you're not. And then after Mania, we did this really nice one with you and I.
Great, yeah.
And I remember everyone was real excited. You're going to talk to Ariel. You're going to talk to Ariel. And then you're just hiding behind this pipe and drape. And I thought, whose fault?
No frills. I'm a no frills guy. I don't need, a nice little studio. Although this is my home. So it's great to have you after that experience.
Oh.
My home. And,
it's a very nice home.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then, I like to, when someone's coming in, when I'm talking to someone, I like to do my research, not about you, but I like to know what they've said recently. I'd like to go back, listen to a few podcasts, and just kind of see what's on your mind. And then I'm listening to this great podcast called After the Bell, hosted by Corey Graves
he's the best.
and Kevin Patrick.
Kevin,
Mensches. You were putting him over. A mensch is like salt of the earth, Yiddish term, like great person.
I know.
And then at one point, they ask you about this tweet that your wife, Brandy, put out Royal Rumble night.
Yeah.
And you mentioned me, which was great. I'm walking the dog.
Course,
you mentioned me. And you're like, you know what? I feel like Ariel never shows me love. You said that. He's like, Ariel's the man, but he doesn't go out there. When Ariel gets behind someone, you want to run through a wall for that person. Do you remember this? And I was like,
yes.
Cody, you feel like I don't show you the love.
So
the irony is, just last week after the Heyman promo, I was like, this is incredible. I didn't even hear that.
Here's what I think I meant more. Not to walk it back. I was not walking it back. But here's what I think I meant more. I watched you interview Drew going into Clash at the Castle. And then I've watched you interview Sami. And it's not that you don't show me love. It's you seem, even though you're very educated to what we do and you follow what we do and you're indoctrinated into it as far as WWE and you seem so excited about that challenger. And I didn't look at it as a sense like he doesn't show me love as much as you're like the perfect target audience for me, in a sense that I know the ones who are ride or die and with me, and I never take them for granted. But you also look at the others and you're like, I wonder why he likes Drew so much. I wonder why he likes this guy so much. And you just kind of want to feel that the same. However, I remember, because the Drew one I watched recently, you were so adamant.
Yeah.
He's got to be the one. He's got to be the one. That's like the story of all of these Roman Reigns matches. And I feel like real life has been hitting people in a sense like, he's got to be the one. It's got to be him. Oh my gosh, never mind. Roman again. Again. It's just how good Roman is. Like, I didn't say Roman's name before the Royal Rumble. You don't want to put a guy on a pedestal to where it psychs you out. And I mean from a competitive and a performance standpoint. But yeah, that's more what I meant, is that you seem very behind the current challenger. And WrestleMania,
I like an underdog.
Oh, well, that's...
And you are the underdog now. I just, you were on the sidelines, so I had to prop up the other guys. But now you're the guy. and it's been incredible to see you come back and everything that they've done. And then the appearance at the Rumble was amazing, and the way you I mean, like, you are that guy. I love the analogies that you always like to make about, I want the touchdown, I want the ball, I want to be the guy. I love that stuff because it feels like you are becoming that guy for WWE, and especially last year, it felt like you were the guy, and then of course had to leave. Can you compare the return at the Rumble just a few weeks ago in San Antonio to the return at Mania last year? Because both felt very anticipated, felt like milestones. Last year, you come back after the long layoff. You're out building something else. Everyone's so psyched. This time, it's like, okay, he's back. He's healthy on the road to WrestleMania. You're about to, headline. What were I bet you were nervous both times. I bet you were anxious both times. But can you compare the two nights? Because both were filled with a lot of anticipation.
WrestleMania, I did not have a sense of how the crowd would be. And it was this very anticipated surprise from the discussions and everyone who covered, like, it's going to be Cody. It's going to be Cody. And it still was a surprise, though. And with that, I didn't anticipate them. So I remember talking to you the next day. I just was really, I took that as they were so warm and welcoming, and they didn't make my story from a fan perspective. I don't know if fans are thinking all these things as they go through their mind, but it didn't seem like they made my story about where I'd been. It seemed like they made my story about, oh, he's back. And 7 years is a long time, so something has happened. There's been this transformation, and they just jumped on board with it from a fan, so wrestling fans and sports entertainment fans. The Rumble was about, in my opinion, as a character that people like on the show, and I've been a character on shows that they don't like, but as someone currently they like and vibe with, and I really love and like them, I wanted to call my shot. And calling your shot sometimes makes it obvious. Like, oh, well, hey, they're making it seem like he's going to win the Royal Rumble. They're making it seem that I wanted to call my shot because I still believe in those type of wrestlers, the type I grew up with, who said something and did it. And that doesn't happen that often in wrestling. I've been telling you since WrestleMania, this is what I want. I want to win this championship that my dad never got his hands on, and then I want to start a whole new chapter. I'm wrapping up something that started in 1978, 7 years before I was born, 77 maybe actually, but I want to wrap this up and then wrap that part up for me and then start a whole new chapter. And I kind of stand by that. There was a lot of people like, maybe it should have been a surprise. Yeah, that might have been really cool. But it felt good about telling him, hey, I'm coming back. And it was really nerve-wracking and anxious watching those vignettes, because they're not vignettes. It's like real surgery footage and real PT footage, and they're at my gym. And I didn't want to let anyone down, and I felt like I didn't. So that was what I liked about the Rumble. Comparing the two the most is WrestleMania, I had no idea what I was walking into. None. Even though I'd been here for 10 years prior, I just didn't know what it was. In this one, I was walking into a big responsibility, and I wanted to not let anyone down and uphold that. And particularly for the younger fans, you and I, we love this. We've loved this for a long time. We've got deep and educated and nuanced feelings on it. Sometimes these little kiddos they just need someone to rock with for a few hours, and I wanted to be that for them, because that's a whole side of the audience that I tried to really learn from Cena when I was driving him around before he became a bus guy, and he was just talking, and I was writing everything down in my mind, just so sincere and real. And even when you get a rowdy crowd, and he didn't panic him. That's the number one thing I say before I ever go out. Don't panic. Let's roll. Don't panic. And he stayed true. I think we look back at John now, and I don't think we realize how good we had it.
Right.
As far as a personality and performer and a competitor. But I don't even remember what you asked me. I'm just waxing poetic about it.
I love it. I could listen to you speak because you are very sincere and passionate when you speak about all of this. What's interesting about this particular road to WrestleMania is usually the winner of the men's Rumble, we know late January, all right, this guy is more than likely going to headline against this guy who's the champion. The February pay-per-view is always in a weird spot because, very rarely historically is there a title change there. Sometimes you'll get a Daniel Bryan situation where they're forced to change. And now we have Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And we have Montreal. And it's this unbelievable storyline. And I was wondering for you, for your sake, I was like, how are they going to integrate him into this whole bloodline thing? And then we get last Monday, and then we get you and Paul. And that was just magic. I mean, what you guys did was incredible. My question to you is, though, how comfortable do you feel using your father, who unfortunately is no longer with us, as part of this storyline? Because I feel like there's a part of you that's like, he's a business guy, he lived and breathed this, he would be okay with this. But is there a part of you, because I heard what Bailey said on the bump, she was like, I love Dusty, I didn't love that, because he was such a big deal for her. So is there a line on you know, there is.
So one thing is burnt into my brain is I forget if it was Eddie Guerrero. It was a situation, but I was watching WWE with my dad, and he told me, he goes, when people say like, he would have loved this, don't ever let anyone say that about me. And that's burnt into my brain. And the area where I think this is kind of, there's a rule, it's my rule, it's not a big serious rule, but if you don't know Dusty, like if he didn't train you at NXT, if he didn't work with you, if you're just, no pun intended, going for some cheap heat, you can't use him. Because he's not coming out here making the bionic elbow. He's not with us, right? But in the case of what I'm doing now, I'm playing on the other team, and it's like my dad is the head coach of the other team. Because Bailey, Kevin, Sami, Seth, particularly Seth, Roman, all these people he helped, and he didn't train me. Paul's not lying. He didn't train me. And it's just, I know there's kind of this fun, like Cody's always crying, Cody's always talking about his dad. There's probably going to be a lot of that because I think about him so much heading into this situation solely because I think he was one of the few people who thought this could happen for me. But he would lose it if he knew I was wrestling Roman, one of his guys, in Hollywood, a place where he wanted me to be in the first place. And he would lose it. And if he found out, say it's not Roman. Because the situation with Montreal and the February pay-per-view, not always, it sometimes feeling like, what do we say, like a lame duck, where it's like, I can't compare anything to Montreal other than Punk and Chicago.
Right.
It's a very, as composed as Roman is, this is a very unique scenario. So the idea that it could be Sami Zayn is not remotely off the table for me at all. And if it's Sami Zayn versus me in Hollywood, just the idea of all this, I think my dad would be stunned by. And the big secret, which is not a secret because I've said this in like every interview, I feel bad, is when you're a second generation, you're a third generation, whatever, you do want to be like them, sure, but you want to be better than them. But you say that and people are like, how can you be better than Dusty? What a dick. Like, no, it's how you honor him. Hey, you want to be in my business? I mean, the literal thing he said to me, we're pulling out of a Waffle House, is you can only be in this if you want to be the best. And that's words when you're 19. Now at my age, it's, he wasn't lying. Like, there's no other way to do it if you're a second or third generation. Hey, Nepo babies or whatever we're called now, door's wide open. You can come in, you can get the job. And then you're held to the most ridiculous standard. And now we've got some major, Dominic, Ava, Charlotte, like not knocking other fathers and mothers or anything like that, but we're dealing with some of the heaviest hitters. And I consider Dusty that. So I just, again, I think he would get such a big kick out of it. And I do want to carry it with me towards Mania. But Mr. Heyman said the exact thing that I don't think he knew I needed to hear this, but I heard it. It's not about him. And Bruce Pritchard told me that too. He said, nobody loves your dad more than me, but this is about you. Like, that Nightmare logo isn't the polka dots. All these kids with these little foam weight belts, that's not, red, white, and blue Dusty Rhodes tour shirts. Like, they're into you. And that's an interesting thing to hear, right? You want it, and you're like, yeah, maybe I'm getting there. I just think Dusty would get a huge kick out of all his friggin' handprints are over everything with Mania and just still given to the business even from the grave.
How would you feel about a triple threat match if it becomes that? Would that make it feel less? No, yeah, because some people don't like the triple threat, one-on-one, traditional. If it ends up being that, let's say there's some sort of craziness, and have you felt like, all right, I prefer this. It's cleaner. It's one-on-one rather than triple threat?
No, I don't really have a preference.
Okay.
Solely because I want to wrestle the best. All right, and people wanted people wanted a contender forever. So if two show up, don't be mad. Don't make it about A or B or B or A or one or two. Don't enjoy it all, right? And that's really been kind of the challenge. Like, I can't begrudge a dude getting super hot. And Drew was, again, you were so on this Drew train at one point. Yeah, you did this interview right before, and it got me hyped up. And then he's overseas, near where he grew up. I mean, I have no preference in terms of the direction it goes. I really look forward to the moments when I'm in there, if they happen with Sami, whether that's just on the road to WrestleMania, because I think it's different than people think. I think he's doing amazing. And I feel like I've been able to really do some great stuff too. So bring it all together. I'm not.
Okay.
Hey, who knows? Who knows what happens in Montreal? Who knows what happens in WrestleMania? One of the reasons I keep the serene and the peace and the calm, because I don't know what's going to, I'm not the executive vice president. I still think, like some people think, I've got that EVP stroke. I barely had it in the first place. I'm just like I said, want to play quarterback, want to get in the game, and I'll compete for that position.
When you left in June after the horrible injury, the pec was, one of the most iconic moments in the history of WWE. So much was different than now, right? Vince was still in charge. Yeah. Paul technically wasn't back, even though he was close to coming back. He takes over creative in July, and now you're back, and he's the guy. Vince comes back. A lot of craziness. But we all know about your history with Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H. Yeah. Now that he's, the head coach, so to speak, I know you've talked about burying the hatchet and him talking to you at WrestleMania and all that stuff backstage, but what is it like collaborating with him, working with him? How has it been?
So far, A+ in terms of not. I hope this isn't too divulgent.
No, please, we love that.
Right. Yeah. Nothing has been forced. I'm not trying to force my ideas or a friendship. He's not trying. He's just been everything he has said to me or we've talked about has been very deliberate. And very much, I get the sense he's expecting me to hit a home run every time. Okay, I have had great education and great experience. I want to go out there and do that every time. And we've yet to really hit a road bump. They're going to come. I keep using different sports analogies, but we're going to fumble the ball. We're going to have these moments. They're going to come. But right now, it's been a very good relationship because it's not performative. Right? It's you call the play, and I'm going to go out there and try to do the damn thing. And I've really enjoyed that because I don't think there was necessarily bad blood, but that was a contentious thing on Wednesdays in a way for a while. And if anything, I hope he would look at that and respect the hustle. I don't think I've ever said respect the hustle. But
it's a good term, yeah.
Yeah, respect what I was out there trying to do. Because what I was out there trying to do then was for everybody. As a selfish, egotistical wrestler, as we all are to a degree, that period of time was dedicated to the business and the sport. Matt Jackson and I used to talk about it, raising the pay floor and the wrestling economy. Man, I felt like we did that. I felt like I did my part. So coming back is getting back in those shoes and okay, what can I do? And I was able to jump back on literally the first dream I had wrestling as an 8-year-old kid, just wanting to win, a title that my dad never got for my own reasons, to say, hey, I'm the one who got it, but also to say hey, here it is, buddy.
Do you remember, I know we spoke the day after you returned in Arlington last year, but do you remember the first time there was any sort of, reach out conversation about you leaving AEW and coming to WWE? That to me is still one of the most fascinating. And if I'm being honest, I don't feel like we know the whole story still to this point. Could you tell us about when, the embryonic stages of this move? Because it was seismic.
I'm glad you used the term seismic. because someone who's been helping me along in this WWE run, Ryan Ward, he used that term once in terms of this is legit if you really think of this. Like, telling the story about dad and all that is great and real, and a lot of people connect to it. But there's another side of the story about that I don't think will ever happen in the business again. The executive, one of the, if you look at what we created, I always make sure I name everybody because there's been some revision. Mm-hmm. I'll make it very clear.
Okay.
Matt, Nick, Kenny, Tony, Bernie, Brandy, my wife, and Dana. Without them, I remember how fragile it was. Doesn't exist. We were able to do this together as a team. So the idea that somebody involved with bringing this alternative promotion, this challenger brand, to the mainstream, to be there and be an alternative option, that person would then leave and go back is very large if you really think about it. Especially that's what I do. The goalpost move, and I try to keep going. That's the number one thing I'm good at. Oh man, these people are going to bet against me. Oh, I can't put 10,000 in there. Yep, we can. Can't do this. Yep, we can. And I had great teammates throughout all this. But when I was free and clear to discuss and talk and no issues, I can say that the first person to make contact was Bruce Pritchard. And I had to make sure I was very free and clear because the last thing you want to do, I'm not just a talent, I'm a member of the executive team, was Bruce Pritchard. It's not, I think everyone looks at it like, oh, he got him from here and this. I was free. I wasn't under a deal anymore. I'd done my bit for King and Country. And the special thing about it was Bruce told me that he'd like to meet with me. And I thought, I'd love to meet with you guys because if anything, it'll be closure. That's honestly how I looked at it. It will be closure. Hey, I exited poorly, but I was mad. And I think I was mad and I was unprofessional, but here's why I was unprofessional. And some of my unprofessionalism led to some really beautiful stuff. I kind of wanted to wrap it all up. And that's when he told me, he goes, well, Vince will fly to meet you wherever you are. And that's when it got real. And I think I only told Brandy like, ooh, I don't know if I should have answered this text because now I'm faced with this and faced with this meeting and closure is one thing, but also my sister said it best. She said, be careful what you wish for. Because that meeting was what I wished for in a sense that, I'm sorry, I was slightly emotional about it. It's standard me. But just the idea of wrestling Seth, that's all it was. Would you wrestle Seth Rollins at WrestleMania? The idea of someone that I was trying to catch up to when I was Stardust. Your Seth Rollins, your Roman Reigns, your Dean Ambroses, your Sammys, your Kevins, Dusty's kids. Yeah. The idea that I was trying to catch up to them, Bailey's, all of them, and I finally had, was very, it makes it a career worth having done all this nuts stuff that I've done. Try all these things that I've tried. Made it a career, really made me feel like this was my life's work. I tell all the Nightmare Factory kids, like, this is your life's work. It's not a job you get in and get rich quick at. Definitely not that. But yeah, he'll fly to meet you. And one text later, the next day, that's what happened.
Incredible.
And it was just that. Just the idea that you'll wrestle Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I think people think there was other promises. There weren't. It was just that because I didn't need any other promises. I really felt I know how good I am. I think I told them in that meeting I'm the best wrestler in the world. I think I told them that. Yeah, I know I did. I brought the WWF Championship. Dan Lambert had given it to me. I told them that, and it was just a great thing. Again, maybe get some closure, but like Teal, my sister, said to me, be careful what you wish for. And there it was. And that opportunity to make the walk and start the process back was just a really beautiful opportunity. It came a lot later than people think. It wasn't a foregone conclusion. A lot of items had to be figured out. I still had action figures coming out with AEW and the video game and things of that. But everyone on both sides handled it very professionally. Really did.
Dying to ask, Labor Day weekend, when everything happens with Punk and the press conference? What are you thinking when you see all that?
They call it Brawl Out, right?
I don't know what they call it.
I think they call it Brawl Out.
I don't know if they're still allowed to talk about it at this point. You get the.
I got a fun story.
Oh, please.
It's pretty neutral, but
okay.
One of my students from the Nightmare Factory was involved in pulling apart whatever the scuffle was. And I told him, he's got a job, he's a driver there.
Okay.
I told him, I go, I feel terrible. I didn't prepare you. We taught you how to do hip tosses and do an interview. We didn't teach you how to break up a backstage brawl. So now when we do these beginners camps, I always want to be like, so guys, if you see two guys fighting, immediately separate them just because he had that experience. I thought that was, it always popped me. Were you asking what I thought of it all?
Yeah. When you're seeing, I mean, you were so close there, and then you see just the whole thing kind of implode.
Well, I woke up the next morning and I had, no joke, I think I had 63 messages.
Wow.
So I was very worried that something was said about me or Brandy. And that's I want to make sure, like, I did everything I could. I gave a lot. And I have great memories with AEW. I do. So I hope it's respected mutually, right? So I was worried. I was like, I hope somebody didn't take a weird shot, something like that. And that wasn't the case. It was about this press conference and all that. I had a great relationship with Matt, Nick, and Kenny. I still do. It definitely was tested by being young executives. It was tested by having different opinions on wrestling. But our different opinions is what made it strong. That's what made us work. I want to do Crockett and old school, and they want to do PWG and West Coast, and damn, I loved it. I liked that. That contention is what made us bond. We're bonded forever because of the things we did. I also had a great relationship with Punk. He was my dinner buddy. You know, they'd order dinner for me at AEW every week as one of my management perks or whatever. I don't think he knew. I always just put it on my tab because I wanted to make sure he was getting something too, it was salmon or sushi. So we didn't talk a lot, but I had a great relationship. We would still like chat and was so excited to have him back. And gosh, like even if you remember when he came back, everyone was fired up about that, everybody. So when I watched it, just from my sitting there, I was not, there were some people texting me. I remember somebody texting me, man, you're the smartest guy in the room. And I wanted to write back, like, F you, man. Like, I don't feel that way. I feel this thing we built got damaged. And I'm not putting any blame on anybody. Sorry, I was super Switzerland in this moment.
No, I get it.
I'm not putting any blame on anybody, but I just hated seeing that because as the company grows, and I hope it continues to grow, I hope people remember the mission in the first place, why we were there. And if you bring in people who don't know the mission, then things like that can happen. And I'm not saying he didn't know the mission or anything of that nature, but I was just bummed out. That's how I felt. I was bummed out because you win a title, it's a feather in your cap. You win the Royal Rumble, it's a feather in your cap. Building an alternative wrestling promotion is definitely a feather in the cap. I don't want that to be erased. I don't want that to go away. Plus, there's not as many jobs in wrestling as people think. There's about 1,000 people who work there, structurally, infrastructure, and talent. I'm proud of them, and I want to make sure they're able to feed their families. And that was a situation that was so big and heavy. I don't think it was helpful, right? And I don't know, maybe you could make it helpful, maybe you can do something with it, but it was just, that's how I felt. No heat on Punk, no heat on Matt, Nick, Kenny, or Tony. I was just bummed out when I saw it. That's not how we envisioned it. If you were at All In, were you at All In?
No.
All right, the spirit of All In. If you ever lose the spirit, you're lost.
Right.
And I think the spirit was gone in that moment. Doesn't mean you can't get it back. But it was just a bummer. I also felt weird because I always talk to everybody. So I was like, I don't want to make it look like I'm taking any sides here, you know? Like I'm literally just an observer now. I'm not there, guys. No connections, other than the initial connection. So just a bummer.
Well, you've got a lot of exciting things coming up. You've got Raw in Brooklyn tonight, Elimination Chamber in my hometown of Montreal, one of the great wrestling cities.
Bell Center, right?
The Bell Center.
The best.
The best. I was there, Screwjob, 97, in the rafters.
I beat Shawn Michaels and Triple H, me and Ted DiBiase at Breaking Point.
I remember 2009.
Yeah, and they never did Breaking Point again.
Never did it again. How could you top that? Incredible.
I also didn't know how to put a figure 4 on the post like Brett. So I was just, I did my version.
No one noticed. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
You've got the A&E biography on your father, which I believe you are an executive producer on that.
Yep, airs the week before Mania.
Week before Mania, April 1st and 2nd, SoFi Stadium. You'll be second night, I presume, right?
I say that, but
Come on. Of course you are.
I keep saying I think we're going on last, and that's, I mean, it's Roman, or if it's Sami, those are both titles, folks. So
you're going on last.
Yes.
But the biggest thing that you'll do over the next almost 2 months is what's about to happen right now. When people come in studio here, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a big darts guy. Darts is sweeping the nation. You know, darts is huge in Europe. So people come in studio, we have to have a game of 3-on-3. We're setting it up right here before you go.
Okay.
3-on-3. You know what 3-on-3 is? It's just you show
3 shots.
Three shots versus 3 shots. And whoever gets the higher number goes. Now we've had 2 previous people do this earlier in the month. Sky Nicholson is an undefeated Australian women's boxer. She got a 93, which is absurd. The most you could get is 180. Eddie Hearn, boxing promoter, got a 23. Horrible. I beat him. I obviously lost to her. So now we want to see how you do in the darts right over there around the corner. Is that cool?
Are you a Deep Space Nine fan?
No.
Bashir and O'Brien, that's their game, darts, and Bashir was enhanced. A human being enhanced, and O'Brien still tried to play him every week. So I'm gonna try.
I'm not. By the way, I'm not working you right here. I suck. You should beat me.
Where is the? Is that the line?
It's right over here. Here we go. We're gonna do it right over here. Joe, you good?
All right.
Okay, here we are. We got the lights on. So I afford everyone the opportunity to just take one practice shot.
Oh, look how kind.
I'm a real mensch. So you go to the line here, and just to get, it's a bit of a different situation. You're just going right in, huh?
Well, I mean, that's the only way to do it, right?
Go ahead. Okay, that's not bad. That's a 6. Can I just offer one piece of advice?
Please.
You're squaring up. Like when you're a boxer, do you want to square up to your opponent?
No, you got to put your foot
You
forward.
got to have a little bit of a stance.
Sure.
You're a little too stiff here. By the way, fantastic suit. Who makes your suits, by the way? Because every time it's just like one better than the next.
The good suits are all Canali suits, the real good suits.
But this is bespoke, right? I mean, you're not taking this off the rack.
No, this is not off the rack. And anything I get off the rack, because there's a couple hacks I call, like if you need a suit quick, blacktux.com.
Okay.
There's some hacks. If you get them off the rack, just get someone to
tailor
them, and the next thing you know, you're killing it. All right, this is my actual shot.
This is legit. So 3 versus 3. Here we go. Cody Rhodes,
seeing if
the American Nightmare. I would go. You're a righty, right?
Yes, sir.
So why are you going? Okay, go ahead. Okay, a little low there, but no problem. That's a 3. That's a 3 right there.
I'm gonna get this Hearn score, guys.
Next up for Cody Rhodes here. Ooh.
Nope.
Right off the board.
It's off.
That would have been a double 13.
That would have been, that was it.
Cody, can I just offer a piece?
Yeah, I think at this point, my third shot's coming up.
The pros like to go like this. So you're ready?
Yeah.
It's gonna feel weird, but they like to put the foot like that, and they like a little bit of a bend.
Have you ever had an athlete say like they didn't want to do this because they like to look perfect?
Yes.
Okay.
This is good because you know what? This is like Us Weekly. Stars, they're just like us. You're
like
human.
us.
Oh, that's a nice shot. Okay.
All
So
right.
you got a 13. By the way, I could suck. I mean, I don't practice.
I wish I'd done the foot thing the whole time.
I'm sorry. It's a competition at the end of the day.
Yes, it is. It is.
So here we go. This is probably the only athletic thing that I could ever beat you at. See this? A little bit of a bend. Oh, Cody.
I'm just going to sit back now.
Look at that. That's a 25. What did you end up getting?
I'm sitting back
Was it?
down.
I don't even remember what it was. Frank, what was it? I almost got a bullseye on my first shot.
Where are you, Frank? Who's this Frank? I feel like you're in on this.
Yeah.
Then the 13. So what is that? A 38. Cody, I love you, and you're gonna headline WrestleMania.
Thank you.
SoFi Stadium, and you're gonna freaking win that belt, and the tears are gonna be flowing, and it's gonna be an incredible moment. Hollywood's gonna be, you're gonna be the face of WWE after all these years. You're gonna go out there, and look, I did it for you. I went off because I didn't want to beat you too bad. 38. That's not bad, right?
No.
That's not bad.
Thank you.
You're an absolute legend.
Here is my request. Frank.
Yeah.
Is this Frank?
Frank, where you at?
I don't know who from the crew comes to the WWE events, but bring this dartboard
Yes.
to WrestleMania. Bring this. I I'm furious and not letting anyone know. Bring this dartboard to WrestleMania, and we will absolutely
have a rematch.
We'll revisit it. We'll have a rematch. If I'm not able to get the rematch, there's no point. We don't need to go for a third one. Frank, are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, please, and thank you, Frank. This exact dartboard too.
What about the fact that I went off the board just to make it
I
a little bit
appreciate
closer?
that. Well, he won. He won. Congratulations.
Here's our camera right here.
He won.
Raw tonight, Barclays Center, Elimination Chamber. You'll be there?
Very likely. It's all. I mean, yeah, it's your hometown.
Yeah.
Right?
If you need a home cooked meal, my mom will hook you up.
Do you know why I like the Bell Center the most?
No.
The way they lift that elevator up. Where
yes,
it's
in the back.
easiest possible building. You think like you have wrestler anxiety over getting into some of these buildings. That one's just an easy lift up. You're not in the cold. It's such a good vibe. Bell Center is a wonderful building. One of my favorite places to wrestle.
Be insane. And then of course WrestleMania coming up in April. Cody Rhodes, American Nightmare, will be back right after this.